You're listening to the IFF TV podcast.
Hello, Macadorish Football Fan TV. This is the Starting 11 show with myself, Paul Nealon, and I'm going to run through basically the 11 I'd like to see face Andorra. Not the team that will probably play, but the team I would like to see line up. And this lineup has just got balance and a mix of youth and experience. So in goals, I'm going to go with Queeveen Kelleher, who's been uncapped. I know that, but Darren Randolph is out of this international window. Gavin Bazunu got his chance and done really well in the Luxembourg and Qatar games, and I think we know what we can get from Gavin. But I think Queeveen Kelleher probably, had it been fit, probably would have been the choice to come in and play ahead of Mark Travers and Gavin Bazunu. So I think Queeveen will probably get the look in for this first game. I'd be surprised if Bazunu gets picked ahead of him, but at the same time I wouldn't be disappointed. I'd like to see either of them getting a chance, but I think Queeveen Kelleher, we haven't seen what he can do in an Ireland jersey yet, especially in goals. So I'm going to go with Queeveen in goals. And I just think that makes sense right now. Then at right back, I'm going to go with Matt Doherty. Seamus Coleman is injured. I think Matt Doherty's come off a disappointing season. I think he'll say himself with Spurs. Going there thinking that he was going to probably do quite well. They were going to compete for things. And ultimately, you know, they finished the season, I suppose, the last day quite well. He played well. But other than that, the season wasn't very good for him personally. So I imagine he just want to have a good performance and play well. He hasn't played that well for Ireland in recent games, so I think he'd maybe looking at this as a game where to show what he can do and maybe, I suppose, cement that right back spot, because he did nail it down before Seamus Coleman came back into form. So look, Matt Doherty for me, I think it makes sense in terms of experience wise, and he would be one of the better players in the squad. So I'll go with Matt Doherty there. Then a centre back pairing of John Egan and Dara O'Shea. I just think that the two most comfortable and experienced on the ball. I know Shane Duffy will probably feel a little bit upset. Maybe I'm leaving him out of the team. If he's watching, I doubt he is. But anyway, I think Egan has a huge loss when he's not in there. And just from a player who plays out from the back, I think between himself and Darragh O'Shea, they're both able to get physical and play out from the back. And they're comfortable with the ball at their feet, where maybe Shane Duffy isn't maybe as much. But in some cases, I think Shane Duffy brings a lot more in terms of his experience or whatever. So maybe for the next game, if it's on Obama and Shane Duffy, I'd be happy with that, because I know what type of experience and value Shane Duffy will bring in that aspect. Look, if John Egan is dropped and Shane Duffy comes in, I wouldn't be disappointed about it as well. But that would just be my preference this time around. At left back, then I go for Ryan Manning. Enda Stevens is out, so I just think it makes sense to bring in the most natural fitting left back to play him. Some might say James McLean, but I just think Ryan Manning, he had a decent end to the season. Obviously Swansea got to the playoff final and lost that the other day, and he played a big part in that. But look, he'll come in fresh and fit and come straight into the team sharp, whereas McLean hasn't really played as much with Stoke. There was a little bit of a standoff and stuff like that towards the end of the season with him and his club. So I think Manning, for me, I would like to see him get a start in this game and see how he gets on, because he played against Bulgaria. I think he played another game as well. So I think it's time for him to step up and show what he can do for in place of Enda Stevens, because Enda Stevens isn't going to be around forever, and he's 31 now. So we're going to have to start looking for someone who's going to come in and start playing ahead of Enda soon enough. Then in midfield, I'm going to go with two central midfielders in Conor Howrahan again. Just like Ryan Manning, he's came fresh in off the plane. He'll be fit. He looks sharp, and you know, I think the reason he went away on loan to Swansea in the first place was so we could play games with Ireland. So I think it makes sense for him to come in, play. He was on the first flight back to Andorra from the playoffs. I think that shows his level of commitment for playing for Ireland. He loves playing for Ireland. He said that in his press conference as well. So I think that makes sense. And then Josh Cullen, look, he's only really been starting to kind of get a look in the last international window, and obviously coming off the back of a really good season with Anderlecht. So I think getting Josh Cullen in that midfield with Conor Howrahan, he'd be the more energetic of the two, and it allows Howrahan then to get on the ball and maybe start attacks and maybe be that deep line playmaker. and then it allows Josh Cullen to be busy. Then just in front of them, I would go with Jamie McGrath. Again, people might say I'm leaving Jason Malumbi out, but again, I'm just trying to find that balance. So if you're bringing someone in for maybe their first cap, and you've two guys behind them who've played in recently, I suppose, with Josh Cullen, he started to come in and play, and obviously a good season under his belt with Anderlecht. I think Jamie McGrath's in a similar sort of form at the moment in terms of he's come off the back of a really good season with St. Mirren. He's got 17 goals and like 4 or 5 assists. He's had a really good season. I think he's our best attacking option in that position. Some people might say Mandreo or Smodics, but he was injured, so he's actually ruled out again. I think Mandreo could be an option off the bench, but I think Jamie McGrath for this one, I'd like to see him start. Just see how he gets on. Again, it gives us another element for set pieces with his right foot, other than Howard's left foot. So I just think it's a really balanced midfield. Again, Jason Malumbi and others, you might feel aggrieved to be left out, but again, there's opportunities for them to play against Hungary or come off the bench. It's not a case of they're just being left out. I just want to, since we're trying out new things, I'd like to see that happen. So that's just my take on the midfield. And then I suppose an exciting front three. I've got Jason Knight on the right hand side of my striker basically, and my left winger on the other side. So I'm going to go with Jason Knight on that side. He's played there before. He played against Bulgaria there earlier in the season, probably November I think it was, and done quite well. I think it's a position that we're kind of crying out for players. Chiedozie Egbeni, again, Stephen said in his press conference that he's carrying a groin injury, so or it's a tight groin, but he should be okay. So again, I think he might be better from the bench and not risk him. I think Jason Knight is a natural player that can play in midfield or on that right wing spot then. And then on the left wing, kind of left wing forward position, I'd like to put Troy Parrott in there. I think this is a game set up for Troy to maybe get his first goal. And the only reason I'm not going to put Troy up front is because I have another option there. But I just think Troy, he's come off his first senior season of football, and it probably didn't go according to plan. But again, if he can get his first international goal, come away from it, go into the summer with his head held high and a bit of confidence, you never know how next season could go for him. And then up front, Adam Ida. Again, it's a very young and youthful front three, I know. I think that behind them, there's a good bit of balance though. So that's what I'd like to see. I think Adam Ida, he's shown he can score goals when you give him the opportunities. I think we haven't been giving him the opportunities to score goals. But I'd love to see one of those front three get their first goals for Ireland. I'd love to see us get a win. And again, even if Jamie McGrath or something like that ended up getting a goal and we won the game 2 or 3-0, that would be the ideal scenario, and just builds that little bit of confidence after working a week with the manager, or a bit more than that. And bit of positivity going into the Hungary game, a bit more optimism around the camp. And yeah, let me know your thoughts on that starting 11. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to the channel or you're returning and you haven't subscribed. Please subscribe now. And